So we've already compared and ordered FDPs. Now we're going to take that a little step further and we're going to order and compare our rational numbers. And as you can see on the table of contents, that should be on page 7. You need this piece of paper right here, ordering and comparing numbers. And as you can see on this side, it says glue this side down. So we're going to take this paper, fold it.
Stop, Sophie.
And we're going to put glue on the other side and glue it in our journal on page 7. Now, as you can see on mine, I've colored mine in some to make it a little bit, to make it stand out a little bit more and so that I can read it easier. This is the less than sign, greater than sign. And on your number line, as your numbers decrease, you go to the left on the number line. And as your numbers increase, you go to the right. When comparing rational numbers, you need to convert all numbers to the same form and place on a number line. Now we're going to use this number line to order the numbers from least to greatest. We have 0, -1, 4, 2, and -5. So I'm going to go by each number and I'm going to circle it on the number line. 0 is our first one. So I'm going to circle 0. -1 is our next one, and we're going to have to go to the left because on the number line, the negatives go to the left. Circle -1. And then it's 4. Well, 4 is going to be to the right because it gets bigger. So I'm going to circle 4. And then the last one is -5. That's on the opposite end, so I'm going to go all the way over here and circle -5. And we have to put these numbers in order from least to greatest. So now I'm just going to list them in order. The first one is -5 because this is your least. Then the next one over is -1. Then 0. Oh, and we didn't circle 2. Then it's 2. And then you go over to 4. And now we have our numbers listed from least to greatest, or left to right. Now we are going to use the number line to order our fractions, decimals, and percents from least to greatest. So if you remember in our FDP's little flip books, we converted them all to decimals. So we're going to convert 143% to a decimal. So in your percents, you're going to take your decimal to the left 2 places. 1, 2. So 143% would be written as 1 43/100. Next, we have 2 1/4. So if you remember, 2 is the whole number, and if you think about money, 1/4 or 1/4 is 25 cents. So 2 1/4 would be written as 2 25 hundredths. Now, to take negative 3/2 to a decimal, we would just do 3 divided by 2. 2 can go into 3 one time. We have 1 left over. So we're going to put a decimal inside the little division house and put a 0 after it and drop down our 0. 2 can go into 10 5 times. So I'm going to bring up the decimal and put a 5. 5 times 2 is 10. So negative 3/2 is equal to negative 1 5/10. Next, we are converting them all to decimals. So 80 hundredths is already written in decimal form. So we're just going to write 80 hundredths. And last but not least, we have negative 15%. So we're going to take negative 15% and move our decimal back 2 places to the left. And it's going to be written as negative 15 hundredths. Okay, so our first decimal is 1 43 hundredths. So I'm going to go find the 1 on the number line. Then halfway between 1 and 2 is right here. So I'm going to go a little bit before because it's not quite 1 5/10. It's 1 43 hundredths. So I'm going to mark my little line right there and write 1 43 hundredths. So now we have that decimal on the number line. Next, we're going to put 2 25 hundredths. On our number line. So if you remember, a dollar is broken into quarters or fourths. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we'll go find 2 and 1 mark is 2 25 hundredths. So now we have that one done. Our next decimal is negative 1 5/10. So we're going to go to the left of the 0 on the number line. And we're going to go a little bit past the negative 1 because it's negative 1 5/10. So I'm going to mark my line right about there and I'm going to put negative 1 5/10. So now we have this decimal done. Next, we have 8/10 or 80 hundredths. So I'm going to go find the 0 and the 1. So this is going to be 25 hundredths, 50 hundredths, and 75 hundredths. So we're going to put it between the 75 hundredths and the 1. We're going to mark our line right about there. And that is going to be 8/10 or 80 hundredths. And we have that decimal done. Next, we're going to find negative 15 hundredths. So I'm going to go find the 0 and the 1. And these are drawn off into quarters, fourths, or if you think of money, 25, 50, 75, a dollar. Okay, but that's negative 15 hundredths. So it's not quite to the 25, so we're going to put our little pink line right about there, and down at the bottom we're going to write negative 15 hundredths. Now all we have to do is list the numbers from least to greatest. So we're going to write them in our original form. And negative 1 5/10 was originally written as negative 3/2. So we're going to write negative 3/2. The negative 15 hundredths was originally written as negative 15%. So we're going to write it as its original. And then 8/10 or 80 hundredths was originally already written in that decimal form. So I'm just going to write it again. Next we had 1 43 hundredths, which was originally written as 143%. So we're going to write 143%. And then last, we had 2 25 hundredths, which was originally written as 2 1/4. And now we've put our fractions, decimals, and percents and our rational numbers in order from least to greatest.